When a billionaire donates $1 million, we're supposed to be impressed. We see the headlines, the giant checks, the smiling photos at a gala. They cut a ribbon, a hospital wing gets their name, and for a moment it feels like the world is a better place because someone rich decided to be generous. We're told to applaud, to feel grateful, to admire their kindness. But what if this whole performance is a distraction? What if the charity of the ultra-wealthy isn't designed to solve problems, but to make us forget what's causing them in the first place? Let's be brutally honest about scale. $1 million sounds like a lot of money to us, but for someone with $1 billion, it's not even a rounding error. It's the equivalent of an average person tossing a few coins into a donation jar. They get praised for generosity, but the donation has zero impact on their lifestyle, their power, or their ability to accumulate even more wealth. Meanwhile, the very systems that allowed them to amass that fortune remain perfectly intact. We're talking about systems that often rely on low wages, crushing small competitors, finding legal loopholes to avoid taxes, and lobbying against stronger worker protections. So they donate to a food bank with one hand while lobbying against a minimum wage increase with the other. They're treating the symptoms while carefully protecting the disease, and the worst part, we play along. We praise their generosity without asking the tougher, more important question: why do we even need so much charity in the first place? Why are our schools so underfunded they have to beg for donations from corporations? Why do families in the richest countries in history rely on food banks to survive? These aren't failures of individual kindness. They are massive failures of policy, failures of fairness, and failures of power. Here's the great paradox of modern philanthropy. The same people who are celebrated for donating to social causes are often the very same people who are funding lobbyists to fight against systemic solutions. They'll give money to a literacy program, but they'll fight against higher taxes that would properly fund public schools for everyone. They'll donate to a free clinic, but they'll oppose universal healthcare policies that would make those clinics unnecessary. It's a strategy: oppose the permanent public solution, then offer a temporary private patch and expect to be thanked for it. That's not altruism. It's a form of control. When our essential public needs like education, health, and housing depend on the whims of private donors, something fundamental breaks. Decisions are no longer made through a democratic process representing the will of the people. Instead, they are made by a handful of billionaires. One person's personal values, their pet projects, their idea of who is worthy, gets to decide which communities get help and which get ignored. Social priorities stop being about public good and start being about personal branding. And let's talk about how inefficient this is. Private charity is a terribly unreliable way to run a society. It's fragmented, it's inconsistent, and it's completely dependent on the economy and the moods of the wealthy. A foundation might fund a project for a few years, but when a recession hits or the billionaire gets a new passion, that funding can vanish overnight. Compare that to a well-designed public system. A government program, funded properly through taxes, doesn't just disappear because it's not trendy anymore. It provides stability and security. It's accountable to voters, not to a board of directors. Yet we are constantly told that philanthropy is the peak of moral excellence. But think about it. What is truly more moral? Is it extracting massive wealth from an unequal system and then donating a tiny fraction of it back for a tax deduction and a good headline? Or is it participating in a fair system by paying your taxes, which then contribute to robust public services that benefit everyone? One is optional, image-focused, and self-serving. The other is structural, dependable, and just. This is why so much elite charity feels good in the moment but changes almost nothing in the long run. It doesn't raise wages for the working poor. It doesn't guarantee that a sick person can see a doctor without going bankrupt. It doesn't build affordable housing or prevent evictions on a mass scale. It doesn't redistribute power from the hands of the few to the hands of the many. At its absolute best, it provides a temporary safety net. It keeps people afloat just long enough so they don't demand real structural change. It patches a few leaks on a sinking ship while the captain tells everyone to admire the beautiful new paint job. And maybe the most uncomfortable truth is that charity often works as a society-wide tranquilizer. It makes us feel like the problem of inequality is being handled. Don't worry, the headlines suggest the billionaires are on it. We don't need to have those difficult, messy political conversations about wealth, taxes, and power because someone else is taking care of it. Gratitude replaces accountability, and while we're busy feeling grateful, the underlying problems get worse. Wealth continues to concentrate at the very top, public services, starved of tax. Revenue continue to erode, and the cost of just surviving gets higher and higher for everyone else. This isn't an argument against helping people. If someone is hungry, you feed them. If someone needs shelter, you help them find it. This is an argument against pretending that charity is a substitute for justice. It's an argument against accepting a system where a person's survival depends on the generosity of the powerful. Real, lasting social progress doesn't come from a star-studded gala or a name on a building. It comes from the boring, unglamorous, and difficult work of politics. It comes from progressive taxation, strong labor unions, public investment, and fair regulations. It comes from building systems that don't need to be propped up by the performative goodwill of the ultra-rich. Until we demand that, charity will remain exactly what it is today, not a solution, but a performance that makes the powerful feel good, the public feel hopeful, and the broken system feel perfectly safe. And that right there is exactly why nothing ever really changes. Thanks for watching.